So sorry for that. To the bit of a technical hitch. So today we're going to do troubleshooting, and we're going to begin with general troubleshooting. So general troubleshooting involves the out password resetting and etc. and other small functions. So if you have any question, any you feel like there's something I need to expand, you can always post. You can always talk. Maybe ask the question while in session. So what we're going to cover is about initialization function, introduction. We do a bit of a password reset for, that is the front-end devices. We do password reset for, we're not going to do storage devices. Then we are going to do password reset for, so we are not going to cover everything in this document. So just a bit of it. So initialization function is basically trying to, when you're going to do setting up of username and password for devices, setting up email and other properties. So that is the initialization function. And we have different methods of initializing devices. So we have our web interface. So generally for web interface, models supported including CCTV, NVRs, some of the access controls, not all of them, and also video intercom, that is the outdoor station support initialization from the web interface. Other initialization methods include local initialization, that is where you're interacting with the device directly. So for those of us, maybe have done Dahua video intercom, indoor devices, they're well familiar with that initialization type, that is setting up the password and all information locally from that device. And other method of initializing include tool initializing. So tool initializing include using tools like config tool and maybe other third-party initializing tools. So for a web interface, you would do something. So by default, our IP address for cameras is 192.168.1.108, and so you do initializing on the web and set the parameters for your particular country. So the reason why it's important for you to set like country or region is because of video formats. So different countries have different power frequencies, which is corresponds to the different video formats. So ensure you select your country well for the correct video format. We will see different issues arising from when you set a video format like PAL and NTSC, what issues you might experience. So for the web interface, basically I accept the license and I click next, and you do just the basic settings, confirm and ensure you set the date. And also another thing is of very much importance, while doing CCTV installation or NVR configuration, ensure that you do correct time settings. So most of the cases people are experiencing a problem where videos are lagging. So time is the most key, which affects most of the devices. So ensure you have the correct time for your cameras and correct time for your NVRs. So ensure both of them are in sync. Next, we talk about, so from web interface, ensure you set username and password and so and so. And also another thing important while doing web interface settings, that is initializing in web interface, is this email field. So email field is necessary because, okay, it has two arguments. It can be necessary it's necessary for security purposes, and maybe to make your work easier, you cannot set the email. So that in case you're doing password reset, you can set email now when doing password reset at that time. Okay, now and so it's argumentative when you are going to decide whether to set email or not set email, but I would advise you to set an email an email that you are able to access in case maybe the password is forgotten or you're experiencing an issue trying to reset the device. So ensure you set the email for such cases. Next, we talk about P2P. So when doing initializing of device, that is setting the device parameters afresh. There's this option called P2P. So depending on your setting, whether you have internet on your site, you can decide to add the P2P. So you can decide to add the P2P or to enable it or disable it. This is because you might not necessarily need it in cameras, but you might need it in NVR. So you can disable or enable it depending on your design. So how you prefer it. So maybe another method of doing initializing of device, that is giving the camera information like password and etc., is the web interface or local interface. So you can initialize the camera from the NVR side. So basically, like you select a camera which has no password. So if you check from here, this list, you can see something like an X. So a device that is not initialized in an NVR will look like this. It will look like an X. It will have a red X. So you select the device, then there's a button at the top here. So after selecting that camera, maybe you check, ensure this box is ticked. You click initialize here. So it will take you to the next steps, do next, and it's good always to have your cameras and NVR in the same password category. But if you are doing advanced area where security, there are those security requirements or password requirements, you can have different passwords for your site. But this one is much easier to make your works very fast and convenient. So after, maybe if you from the NVR side, maybe you did not use the wrong password. You don't want to use the same password as the NVR for the camera side. You will have to enter the password for the camera now afresh. So so you can set the password afresh for the cameras. So that is something easier. Then you also have the option for modifying the password, and it's always a good practice to have your passwords changed. Sorry, the IP address of the cameras changed. So if you initialize the device, ensure you always change the IP address for the camera, because conflicts in the network might render the device useless, or you cannot discover devices. So you might be experiencing a lot of problem if you have conflict in your network. And config tool will help you to know whether there is conflict in your network. So tool initializing of device include using config tool. So I think we covered this config tool a while back. So config tool, basically, if you're going to do Dahua products, config tool comes in handy, because with config tool you can do functions like changing IP addresses, initializing device, and configurations. So if you have config tool, to initialize device, you select the device, then you would just click the initializing button, then you will enter the username and password for the device. So I'm going to rush about this because then we're going to cover the troubleshooting part, because this one is just part of the troubleshooting. So password reset for cameras. So if you want to reset a device, that is, maybe there will be cameras, there are different methods of resetting. You can reset the cameras from the web interface. So there is this button here called forgot password. So you can use the button. Then it will take you to the next step. So you remember when you're talking about the setting up of email while initializing the device. So if you click forgot password, you'll have this option to scan this serial number in the GDMSS app, and you'll be able to get the password reset to your email. So you scan the device, in the email you'll receive a security code. Put that security code here, and you'll be able to reset the device. So I'm not going to cover a bit more about this, but so for web reset, it's just more of the softwares. That is GDMSS to reset it. So web reset. So if you receive the code from your email, you'll have the code. So this is just an example for the code received. So you put the code, you click next, then if the code is correct, now you get to reset the device. So this is an example of an email you receive for password resetting. So you receive an email like this. And the email that you're supposed to send to is support. So if you scan using the mobile GDMSS, it will be automatically done from your side. So I'm not going to dwell much on this because it's not much of the order of the day, what we plan to do today. I'm going to skip this unless maybe someone is feeling that they're not okay with resetting our devices. I'm just going to skip this, then we dive directly into troubleshooting. So troubleshooting for the IPCs and etc. Okay. Now we go through camera troubleshooting. So for camera troubleshooting, we are going to handle the IP cameras. And we're going to talk about troubleshooting in terms of images, troubleshooting in terms of maybe you're having problems with sound or video. You also have, maybe you have problems with the network. So how can you reset the password if we fail the log email? So there's a question regarding resetting the password. So at times you for cameras, if you reset, if you have a camera and you have the wrong email, what you can do, there is always a reset button for our devices. So we have there's a reset button on the board. Let me just show you how you can access the reset button. So the hardware reset is the simplest. So you can see for most of the cameras, there's always a small button. So for cameras on the board, there is a small button on the board. There's a button, password reset button. So if you hold that button for 15 to 20 seconds, then the device will be reset. Optionally, if you don't see a small button on the board, you have to open the camera. There's always two small holes that are near each other. Two separate small holes. You should circuit on those holes for about for about 15 to 20 seconds. So the two small holes applies to EZIP. Most of the EZIP and our 1 series cameras, you have those the reset, the two holes. So we troubleshoot about IP troubleshooting in terms of sound, video, network storage, and AI function. So you might be experiencing some noise in your image. So noise is in terms of the image is a bit blurry. So if you're experiencing a blurry image, you can the way to handle that, you can try to reduce the sharpness value of your cameras. So this is more of image settings in the camera side. So you try to reduce the sharpness. So the image blur is an image like this. So you can see this whitish small spots. So you try to reduce the sharpness of the image, and you can also reduce the gain. So you can also reduce the gain. And also other function that you can do is you can enable 3D NR. So 3D NR is a noise reduction technology that will help you to remove noise from your side. So to reduce noise, you can reduce the sharpness and ensure that you have the 3D NR on. So by default, these parameters are there, and if you're having a challenges trying to set these values, what you can do, just reset the device and it will go to the default parameters. Another issue that you might face with the cameras include this waving flicker. So there's like something like black strips on your screen. So you can, if you face this problem, what you can do, you can try to. It's because of a CMOS sensor is not in sync with the environment. So like there are interference from the network, including lamp light. So what you can do, you can try to set the shutter speed to 10 milliseconds or 8.33 milliseconds. So it's dependent on your power frequency of that country. So you might be having different devices operating at different power frequencies. That's why it's very important when doing a setup on your device, ensure that you set according to your region because of the power frequency issues. So this one is mostly because of frequencies related to power issues. So irregular streak, you might also experience such problem. So something like this, irregular streak. So it's not waving, but it's most likely it's about analog cameras. So you might experience this on analog cameras and also IP. The reason as to why you might experience this is because of high power voltage device. So maybe most cases you experience this problem with the elevators. So you have a camera installed in an elevator and there's high power voltage bringing to the elevator car. Might be an interference on the same. So the solution to that is to try changing the surroundings or try to avoid the power supplies or high voltage circuits near the camera. Another problem is something like this. So you might have an image appearing as such. So with an image appearing as such so for that such case, what you can do is upgrade the device, and if it's still not working, it's now on your side to now help you fix the issue, because it's a troubleshooting that's only limited to our side in terms of fixing it. Or so for your side, you can do those basic. For advanced, you leave it to us. So if you try to upgrade a device and you still can't fix this problem, you can contact us. We can see how it can do, how we can help each other. Another issue you might experience is an abnormal image quality. So an example would be having connecting a 5 megapixel to XVR, then the display fails. So it's more of the device that is the XVR version. So you can do an upgrading of the XVR. So mostly is an upgrade. So ensure you upgrade the XVR, because most likely is the XVR version firmware is not made to support that high resolution kind of camera. So ensure you have up-to-date devices. Some other problem that you might also experience include abnormal image color. So you might have a situation where you're having a pinkish images. So for such case, it's more of the ICR. So this one is an infrared. So infrared is being displayed during daytime, and the ICR maybe does not have enough power supply. So the ICR is the problem at this point. So you need to ensure that power supply is okay, and if the power supply is, you have tried to check the power supply and it's okay, and it's still the problem is still the same, it's more likely that the ICR is damaged. That is the ICR, the chip is bad. And if you still can't be able to fix it, you can contact us, because we provide warranty for our devices, and we'll see how we can replace the device for you on your side. Another problem is you might experience is focusing failed. So especially in motorized devices, you try to focus a device and it still fails. So what you can do, you can try to focus it manually and confirm whether it can solve it. And also maybe you can change the minimum multiply focus. You go to settings, focus settings, then limit. So you can set it to 10 centimeters, and the default value is always greater than 10. So you can try to change these values. And if you still can't be able to fix the issue, resetting the device, and if you reset the device, try the above issues, you still can't fix it, you also contact us on our side. Another problem you might experience is a black screen, and with an error, resource is limited, fail to open video file. So some of the causes that can cause this, some of the causes for this is about bandwidth. Maybe there's not enough bandwidth. So you can try to set up your transmission to ensure more priority is given to the aggregation layer or the core layer. So you try to set it in a hierarchical way to improve on speeds as you go towards the backend devices. So you try to check on the bandwidth, or maybe there might be a lot of users logged into that device. So maybe you have multiple users using the same camera. So that's why you're having limited resources. And the capacity has been reached. So the other troubleshooting is now from our side how we can. But if you are able to do this, you can capture the packets from the camera and try to. You can do an analysis from that side, but this one is from our side. So a black screen in XVR. So you might experience a black screen in XVR. So that is the camera is not sending a video on the XVR, yet the camera is on. So this one applies mostly at night, and it might be because of power supply, because IR takes a lot of power from the power supply. It drains a lot of power. So maybe the IR is not on. That's why the image is not coming. So for night vision cases. So confirm on the power supply that the power supply is 12 volts and maybe 2 amperes and above. 2 amperes, 3 amperes. Another issue that you might experience is a moving shadow. So instead of a normal image, at night you're seeing something like a shadow. So shadow is people looking like shadows. So this one is because cases where you're having a very dark scene, you might experience this. So what you can do is try to do, you can disable the 3D&R and reduce the 3D&R value. So you try to reduce the 3D&R value. Also, what you can do, you can raise the gain of the camera to make it more bright at night. So more bright, and also you can see the image. Also, what you can do, you can set the shutter speed between 0 to 10 milliseconds, and also like trying to reduce the shutter speed so that you can capture the image, because basically video is a series of images. So you try to reduce the shutter speed more of in the exposure settings. So image edge malformation. So this is another issue that you might experience. So this one is not a common issue. And but not a common issue, but you see this, it's not something that you might notice. You may just. So the image edge malformation is in terms of, it's not something very small here. So you're seeing the image is not completely full in the view scene. So what you can try to fix this one is changing the lens. So what you can also do, change to a long focus lens, but this is not a common issue, not much of a common issue. Abnormal shaking image. So this one applies to most of the outdoor scene. So you're having installation of maybe a camera, then the image appears that it's shaking. So it's because of wind. This one's a physical. Ensure that you do proper physical installation and mounting. Maybe you have a problem with the battery sign. So you have a red battery sign here. And so you can see something like this. So the solution is you ensure the adapter is okay. And also what you can do, also you can disable the function of to display this battery sign in the setting event voltage detection. So this one applies to models that support voltage detection. So we have models that do check on the voltage and confirm the voltage is okay. So we do troubleshooting on the IPC. and on sound and video. So you might experience a situation where you don't have sound in your sound reception from your camera. So if you don't have sound in your if you are experiencing sound issues in your setting, so you can confirm whether the camera is damaged. So confirm whether the microphone of the camera is damaged, so physical issues. And also maybe you can check that you have enabled the sound. So you might, to enable sound, go to camera, then you go to audio and enable the sound side from this camera. Maybe another problem is you don't have a sound in loudspeaker. So this applies to models that do support output. So some models support output of audio from the camera side, and you might experience no sound from those speakers. So how to fix that one? Ensure also the audio is enabled, and also the volume is set to the maximum. And also this one also applies to TIOC cameras. So you have those cameras that have speakers and there's no sound coming from them. Check on these values. Another issue you might also experience is noise. So noise, something like a screech. So some certain noise sound. So what confirm on the installation environment. Also ensure that the pickup device is connected to ground. So that is if you're having a pickup as the microphone or external sound source. What you can also do, you can try to power the camera differently, or maybe also the microphone for the camera is close to the loudspeaker. So you can check on those values. So network issues with the IPC camera. So sometimes you might have experience an image stack. Also, you might look on the on-screen display, that is on the display of the camera. The time changes irregularly. So you have maybe the time it goes very fast, all of a sudden it goes very slow. So what you can do, ensure that you can try to upgrade the firmware of the camera, because the firmware are available publicly, and some other troubleshooting process comes from us. So you can now contact us maybe for such case. Maybe another issue maybe you might face with IPC is you're trying to connect third-party cameras. Maybe you're connecting like cameras like Vision to our NVR, and you're having a problem of devices offline. Or maybe you have connected, it's online, but it fails to play. And maybe you have a PTZ that you have connected to our device, that is our NVR, and you're trying to control that PTZ, but still it fails to be able to control that PTZ. So how can we fix such case? So it's now on the third-party device, that is maybe the camera side. You need to confirm that the OnVIF enable that OnVIF is enabled on the other side, and also confirm on the username and password. What you can also do, you can use this software to test the camera. That is the protocol between the camera, the protocol which the camera is releasing. So for this case, if you're going to connect maybe third-party cameras to our NVR, you need to understand very well the third-party for troubleshooting. But most cases, if you connect a third-party camera, which we have tested even in Office, if you're going to connect UniView Hikvision to our NVR, it works directly with the port number 8. So no much complexities. Also, maybe this one also applies to maybe you have other NVRs. So you can have an NVR for Hikvision or UniView, and you have Dahua cameras. You can also add them and ensure to add them to those NVR. So for side, if the OnVIF is off, but by default it's on, you go to access platform and ensure that OnVIF is turned on. And also, so this one applies, most cases you won't interact with this. So I'm not going to cover about OnVIF. So I'm not going to cover about this software. So also maybe for 3G and 4G issues, network issues. So you can have a camera that you connect to our SIM and you don't have a signal. So how can you fix that one? So maybe the camera does not recognize the SIM card. You can try to change it. And also what you can try to do, you can try to change this Apn settings. So Apn settings are available. If only for your country, you can search for the Apn settings for your internet service provider and get the information from this side. And they input those values there. Also, maybe you insert the SIM card to the camera and you're having the signal, yes, but you don't have an IP address. So you can so confirm about the settings about the Apn settings for the camera again. So for that case. So also another problem you might experience is you're having P2P is offline, yet you are sure that your password is network configuration is okay. So maybe the confirm on the settings of the DNS. So confirm on settings of DNS, but it's good always to set the DNS as the Google DNS by default. So for mail related issues, so you're trying to connect to mail and it's failing. So you need to ensure that Gmail is able to receive the mails. That is using Gmail for another third-party functions. So the way to set that Gmail to allow to be able to use to be used by third party, go to SMTP security.